For the workout today for my level 3s, I always start with 100 jumping jacks to get my blood flowing. So if you want to pause and do 100 jumping jacks, go right ahead. I'm going to move right into 3 sun salutations. Going through chaturanga, upward dog, and downward dog. I will not be holding poses very much in this practice. I'll either not hold them at all or hold them for just 5 breaths. I'm already coming forward and halfway up and all the way back up, inhaling and moving right into the next sun salutation, A series. Again, in the downward dog, just hanging out for a bit before finishing up and hopping forward again. Coming back up to standing for another sun salutation, A series. This is a good time to move with your own flow of breath. Again, it is just going to be a little faster paced for this practice. I like to keep my heart rate up and consider this a lot more of a workout than the level 2 that I do. All right, this time as I inhale, I'm going to come up into a chair pose, not holding for a super long time, just getting connected, and then folding forward again. Hopping back and moving through chaturanga and upward dog into downward facing dog. I'm going to take my right leg up in the air on an inhalation, and then as I exhale, I'm going to touch my right elbow. Inhale to lift, exhale, touch my forehead with my knee, inhale to lift, exhale, touch my left elbow with my knee. And I'm going to do that 3 times. So it goes right elbow, forehead, and then left elbow. Then I'm going to step to plank, just holding here in plank. And then moving back into a downward facing dog. A couple of exhalations here. And then moving into the same thing on the other side. So the left leg goes up, and then I'm going to go left knee, left elbow, left knee to forehead, and left knee to right elbow 3 times. And again, holding plank pose. And moving back to downward facing dog. Just a breath or 2, and then coming back to the front of the mat. Halfway up to inhale, folding back in as I exhale. I'm just going to hold here for a couple of breaths, shake it out. Halfway up again on an inhalation. Exhale to pull in through my abs, and then I'm coming all the way up to standing. So here's the first place where I'm going to use my weight. I have a 25-pound weight. I'm holding it with both hands because it's freaking heavy, but if you have something lighter or you can have weights in both hands, that's fine too. I'm just going to do a couple of squats with this 25-pound weight in my hand. I think I'm doing 10 squats with the 25-pound weight. And then carefully with strength, lowering the weight back down to the floor. And from here I'm going to go ahead and hop back into plank. And come on down to the knee touches. When I'm doing the knee touches, I'm doing 50. That means touching each knee 25 times. You can do more, you can do less, you can go faster, you can go slower, you could just hold plank, you could come into a forearm plank. You could even do the knee touches on a forearm plank. You can touch both knees to the mat at the same time if you want to. And back to a downward facing dog. Couple of breaths. Okay, the right leg's coming up in the air, leaving the right leg up, about 5 breaths. And then I'm going to move into, you can either stay there or I'm going to do these calf raises, 10 of them. Right leg is up in the air, coming up onto the left toes, 10 times. And then stepping the right foot forward, bringing both hands to the inside of my right foot. I'm going to hang out in this lunge for a few breaths. And then stepping back to plank and going through the knee touches again. I'm doing 50. Do as many as you want, or just go directly to downward dog. And again, it's pretty fast paced. I like to keep my heart rate up. Okay, and then finally moving into the downward dog. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So my left leg is up in the air, and then I'm going to come up onto my right tippy toes for some calf raises. 10 calf raises. Left leg up, coming up onto the right toes. If you don't want to do the calf raises, you just leave your left leg up in the air. Stepping the left foot forward, both hands to the inside of the left foot, holding in this lunge for a few breaths. And when I say that, it's usually 5. Okay, stepping back to plank. Now I'm doing this thing where I come down to my forearm, one forearm at a time, and then press back up to my palms, and then lower down to your other forearm first, and back up to your palms. So I just alternate which arm I'm coming down to and which I'm pressing up from. Downward facing dog. Catching my breath here. A couple of strong exhalations. And then I'm going to go ahead and hop forward and sit down. Grabbing my 25-pound weight again. I'm coming all the way down onto my back, and what I'm going to do next is put the weight right across my hip bones, positioning my hands such that the weight's not going to roll down and crush me. And I'm just holding it in place over my hip bones while I do some hip raises. You can also just hold your hips up in the air. You can do this with the weight, without the weight. You can put a kid on your lap and do it that way, whatever you have laying around, or no weight at all. Anywhere from 10 to 20 hip raises, and then at the end of your repetitions, if you can, just leave your hips up, pressing down through your heels, squeezing those glutes. All right, and then coming back down, we're moving the weight to the side. I'm going to draw my knees into my chest, cross my ankles, and roll up. Hopping back to plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, and back to downward facing dog. I'm going to exhale here and hop back up to the front of my mat. Halfway up to breathe in. Folding back in to exhale, and I'm coming back up to standing on the inhalation. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do with my weight is just some lunges. So I'm holding this weight, again, because I just have one. I only have one other weight, and it's also 25 pounds. And I was not in the mood today to do 50 pounds worth of weight, so I'm just holding my 25-pound weight, have my right foot forward. And my idea here is that I'm touching my left knee to the mat. You don't have to go that deep. Bending both knees, and then at the top, straightening both legs. I'm doing 10 reps on each side. All right, that's enough of that. I'm putting the weight back down to the floor. I'm going to hop my way back down to the back of the mat and lower down chaturanga. Upward dog and downward facing dog. Let's take the right leg up. We're going to leave this right leg extended about 5 breaths. Then on an exhalation, I'm stepping my right foot forward and I'm going to come up into kind of a crescent lunge. Rather than reaching my arms up, I'm going to interlace my fingers and I like to slide them down the back of my leg. So I'm pressing my knuckles into the back of my left thigh, pressing my left thigh up into my knuckles. Again, not a long hold. I'm going to walk my hands forward and lift my left leg up in the air. I skip this part on my other side, just giving you a forewarning. I totally forgot to do this on the other side, so make sure you add it in. Stepping my right foot back, going through chaturanga, upward dog into downward dog, and then taking the left leg up, holding it up for 5 breaths. And then I'm stepping forward and coming up into that crescent lunge again, interlacing my fingers and sliding them down the back side of my right leg this time as I lift my chest. And then, of course, this is the part where I forgot that I lifted my leg up in the air after I did this. So either you could skip it too, or you can add it in. There we go, stepping back, and this time I'm coming all the way down to the floor. I'm going to do a little bit of salabhasana, lifting both arms and both legs off of the mat for a few breaths. You can either stay here, or I'm going to go ahead and bend my knees and reach back and grab my ankles. Really pressing my feet to the ceiling and opening my chest, taking some deep breaths into my belly. And then I'm going to go ahead and release that and move back to downward facing dog. Five breaths or so here in downward dog. Alrighty, then stepping my feet out wide to the edges of my mat, I'm going to point my toes slightly out and drop my hips down for a squat. About 5 breaths in a squat. I like to throw poses like this in the mix mostly so that I can slow my breath a little bit, even it out a little bit. Moving right back into a downward facing dog. I'm going to take my right leg up. Right leg staying extended for a few breaths. Okay, then right foot's going to come forward, left heel down. Just an inhalation to warrior one. Moving right into a warrior two on my exhalation and coming into a reverse warrior. because this practice has back bends in it, I'm also going to open up the side body and get my spine to move to the right and the left, as well as flexion and extension. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a twisting lunge. So my left hand is down and my right arm is up. Again, just making sure that my spine is nice and warm. From here, I was feeling pretty strong, so I decided to step my right foot back, stack it on my left, and take a Vashisthasana, right arm over my head. 3 to 5 breaths, depending on how fast you're breathing. And then moving back to a downward dog. And then same thing on the other side, so my left leg's up for about 5 breaths. And then remember, stepping forward, we're just inhaling up into a warrior 1, exhaling into a warrior 2, and then moving right into the reverse warrior. Bringing both hands down to the mat. Come up onto the right toes, right hand stays down, left arm goes up, twisting lunge. And right about now I'm regretting the decision to do the Vasisthasana because now I have to do it on this side. Stepping my left foot back, arm overhead, nice open chest, deep breaths. And back to downward facing dog. Three to 5 breaths here. All right, now I'm going to step my feet out wide again, pointing my toes out, and just drop my hips into another squat. Taking a moment to get adjusted here, get the strength of your knees pressing into the backs of your arms. I like to make sure my spine is nice and long. And I'm setting up for a crow pose, so you can either stay here in the squat, or you can go ahead and move into crow pose or any other arm balance that you want to right here. And I'm going to hold it for about 5 breaths. And then we're just going to release that and make our way back into a downward dog. A few breaths here in downward dog. Strong exhalations. Coming down onto my knees now, I'm going to slowly move into a camel. I have the tops of my feet flat on the floor, but of course you can tuck your toes under to grab your heels, bringing your heels a little closer to your hands. Pressing hips forward and lifting the heart, lifting the chest. And slowly coming up out of camel pose. Bringing my legs around in front. I'm going to go ahead and grab that trusty weight again. This is where, for me, it gets a little bit tricky just because of having the one weight. Again, not wanting to drop it on myself. I'm holding it steady, holding it strong. Moving into boat pose. You can do this with or without a weight. Doesn't matter. You can just hold boat pose or take any variation of boat pose. I'm going to do 10 repetitions of this, inhaling as I lift the weight and extend my legs, and then exhaling as I lower both legs and my arms back down. And we're finished with that, releasing the weight. I'm going to make my way onto my hands and knees here for a spinal balance, starting with the right arm extended and the left leg reaching back. Just a couple of breaths there, just to feel stable and neutral. And then I'm going to reach back and go ahead and take a hold of my left ankle with my right hand. and really drawing my toes up to the ceiling and drawing my chest forward again, taking myself into this back bend by drawing my chest forward and keeping strong in the back of my body. I'm going to release my arm and leg out again. This time I'm going to take my left hand up and then reach back and grab my left ankle again, this time opening up towards you, drawing my spine towards the wall behind me or the window behind me. Releasing again. My left leg stays extended. I'm moving into a downward dog with my left leg reaching up, and now I'm bending my left knee pointing up at the ceiling. And then I'm going to go ahead and release that. Just doing the same thing on the other side. So starting with the spinal balance for about 3 breaths, feeling strong and neutral. And then bending the right knee, reaching back and grabbing the ankle, really drawing the toes up to the ceiling and opening the chest. And then releasing and extending, reaching the right arm up and then behind my back to grab my right ankle, really pulling my heart towards the window and my toes toward you. Releasing my hand down, I'm going to move to downward dog, still with my right leg up, bending my right knee, pointing it to the ceiling. And then I'm going to go ahead and release into a downward facing dog. 3 to 5 breaths here. You can stay here or you can come into dolphin. Coming down onto your forearms. From dolphin, pressing back up into the downward facing dog. Right leg, I'm going to walk myself over a little bit to the right side of the mat, taking my right leg up. I'm going to go ahead and flip the dog. You can stay here with the right arm extended, or you can drop into the back bend as I did. And either way, lower yourself down onto your back, grab your ankles, roll forward, hop back to plank. And I like to hold plank after doing flip the dog and the back bend just to stabilize my core again. And then moving to downward facing dog. This time, walking your hands over to the left side of your mat. Left leg goes up, bend your knee. Flip on over. Staying there or moving into the full back bend. A good 5 breaths wherever you are. And then making your way back down to the floor. Taking a moment here again to stabilize my core. So I like to place my hands on the tops of my thighs, and with my hands I'm pushing into the tops of my legs, and with my legs I'm pulling in. So by doing this, you should feel your abdominal muscles just engaging, just sort of hugging around your lower spine. Or just holding, stabilizing. And we'll go ahead and release, rolling up once again into a seated position. I'm going to come into a cobbler's pose for a few breaths, letting my hip flexors relax, And lengthening through my spine once again, slowing my breath. All right, now we're going to move into a seated eagle pose. Garudasana, seated eagle. I think actually with your legs like that it's Gomukhasana, but with my arms I like to do the eagle arms. So I have my right knee on top and my left arm on top. I like to start with my elbows high and then gradually lower my elbows and press my forearms forward. Releasing my arms, I'm just going to fold forward for a few breaths. Okay, coming up out of that pose, taking a twist, bringing my right hand behind me, twisting to the right. And go ahead and release that. I'm going to take a Purvottanasana here just to open my front body again. You can obviously do a tabletop if you would prefer. And then moving into the same thing on the other side. Gomukhasana legs and Garudasana arms. I've got my left leg on top now, so my right arm will be on top. Releasing my arms, I'm going to go ahead and fold forward. Coming up out of the fold, left hand comes behind for a twist to the left. All right, I'm going to go ahead and unwind and lower myself down onto my back. Whatever you want to do from here, whatever finishing poses you want to do, you have time. I'm just going to reach my arms over my head and extend my legs out, kind of shake things out a little bit. A couple of really strong exhalations. If you want, you can draw your knees into your chest and rock side to side. A couple of suggestions, maybe a plow pose, maybe a happy baby, maybe another twist if you'd like. Making sure at this point that your breath has returned to a nice calm and natural state. Nice job. I hope you got a little sweaty because I know I did.